without any further ado, welcome Mbak Mai. Hello Mbak Mai.
Sekarang, Ding.
Yes.
Okay. So you will help me with the screen, right? Hello, everyone. Thank you for having me at this meeting. Would you hear my voice? Is it okay? Would you give thumb or whatever?
Yeah.
I'm delighted by learning this initiative like Deconstructing Indonesia. I'm doing similar things since 2020, starting during the COVID-19. Me and Ruang Baca Puan Collective, we conduct online course on ecofeminism for women youth, introducing them to issue like gender justice, ecological justice, and activism. My name is Siti Maimuna. My nickname Mai Jebing. So Jebing is Madure's term for small daughter. So I enjoy to use Jebing, which positions me as child who constantly searching and learning. This includes learning about gender, of course, because talking about gender is actually talking about us, about men and women, about the titles, characteristic, roles, and status assigned to men and women. It is socially constructed, influenced by geography, class, religions, education, and other factors which change over time. So this is the pictures of indigenous people of Molo during the blocking or occupied the land. It's actually a mining company concession, marble mine. So at the moment I base in Jakarta, and I also learning at the University of Indonesia. Please next. Therefore, I'm using my gender experiences in family, community, and academia to help me understand how gender dynamic intersect with the operation of power relation and modernity. Also, it's follow the spirit of this study group, which on its website aims to examine the historical collision between the islands and the world inside and outside. I will use my body as an archive of my encounters with the people and landscape of East Java, where I was born and raised. I completed my education in agriculture soil science in the University of Jember, then conducted activism and master research in transmigration communities in East Kalimantan, and did my doctoral research at the University of Passau. My thesis is about the Dayak Murung indigenous people in Central Kalimantan. I'm currently working with the women on the small island of East Nusa Tenggara, NTT, the Timor Island, West Timor actually. So there are some of the publication I had written, selected to capture the moments and knowledge that would like to share with you. So here the story line I will convey. I'm starting with the introduction, and then we'll continue with the gender and feminist political ecology. I will continue with the experiencing gender in the household, community, and academics, and gender and extractivism. Extractivism, it's become my concern since I joined the environmental justice movement in Indonesia. And I will close with the plural resistance. Next, please. So using gender as a crucial aspect to understanding the way I see the world, I apply a feminist political ecology tools to understand how the certain ecological changes are not simply viewed as local event, but rather shaped by a combination of local and external. Would you please next, Kitin? I already mentioned about gender. Feminist political ecology tools to understand how the certain ecological changes are not simply viewed as a local event, but rather shaped by a combination of local and external social, economic, and political factors that influence power relation, access, and control over natural resources. So, feminist political ecology demonstrates gender as a crucial aspect and intersecting with the other identities. We call it as intersectionality, including ethnicity and religion at different scale and encompassing the body, household, and community, as well as multi-species relation. Next, please. So I will start with my hometown. So this is the photo from last week in my hometown, the Eid Mubarak in Jember, where people in my village stood along the fence. All of them, men, women, elder, children. So we like shake hands and forgive each other. This is an annual ritual we perform, usually an hour after returning from the mosque, pray in the mosque. So everyone then gather here, and after that, maybe we finish like 45 to 1 hours. Then usually we take a break at home and then proceed to visit the homes of relatives and close friends. So you can see I was born into a Muslim community. So my gender experiences is influenced by Islamic teachings, particularly the interpretation or tafsir of the Quran and Hadith, the most of which are interpreted by men, which don't have experience of, for example, like pregnancy, childborn, menstruation, and so on. So I grew up with the understanding that women's wives must serve their husband well in order to attain paradise. Yet the Quran clearly states that the most honorable in the sight of Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala, the God, are those who are most pious. Yang paling takwa, they call takwa, not because of their gender. So this includes living with the understanding that polygyny is normal, and it's become the criticizing of Islamic teaching sometimes. So ingrained in patriarchal Javanese Madurist culture, gender means that girls are saved from childhood to take care of domestic chores, while boys are not. My two younger brothers weren't burdened with washing dishes and cleaning the houses, not like me and my sisters. They could play from morning to evening. Although my mother not handles the domestic and caregiving, not just handles the domestic and caregiving duties, she also worked to contribute to the family earning or income. At the time, I didn't understand about gender. I thought it was all normal until I went to the college, to the university, and became. I was joined the organisasi pecinta alam, the what you call it, natural lovers group, and I proposed myself as candidate for the chair of the nature lovers during the election in my faculty. So there were five of us, and I was the only woman. One of the candidates asked me to withdraw. I asked why. He said, because you are a woman. That incident struck in my mind. There was a problem with women being prohibited from becoming leaders. That's what I later come to understand as gender. Next, please.
Nama
I
akunnya kok
think there is restricting right as women. That restriction seems has the broader scale. When I met Rahma, this is Rahma, Raihan's mother in Samarinda. The capital city is Kalimantan province, where I was doing activism work with Mining Advocacy Network since 2000 and conducting my master research on ecological politic and extractive regime in Samarinda in the local transmigration community. So on Mother's Day, Indonesian Mother's Day, 22 December 2015, Rahma found her second son died in abandoned coal mine pit less than a kilometer from her home. So this is the portrait of Raihan, 10 years old, in the front of the abandoned coal pit in Samarinda. Rahma is Bugis from Sulawesi. The Bugis tribe migration to Samarinda in the mid-16th century was due to wars against the Dutch in their homeland. By day, in every day, Rahma was a wife and mother, but she also ran a food stall like my mother in the front of her house, which was frequently flooded since the coal mining concession recovers 70% of Samarinda, the capital city. Raihan's death had a different effects on Rahma as a woman compared with her husband. When she went to the police station to request a post-mortem examination of her son's death, the police refused, saying she was not a man, her husband, the head of the family. She was also socially punished, stigmatized as an irresponsible wife and irresponsible mother. Next, Tim. But Rahma wasn't alone in this experience. At least 49 people died in abandoned coal mine pits just in East Kalimantan. Most of them children and students. Maybe some of them is like your age at the moment. Ironically, none of these cases were prosecuted. Hundreds of abandoned coal pit mines remain open. Those who died, especially the children, were men. Why is this so? Because girls aren't allowed to leave home or far away from home. They need to help their mothers with the care and domestic work. Like me, while boys are allowed to play far away, like my brothers. Next, please. So if play areas like this, then boys are more vulnerable than girls. So this is in a village called Makroman, the place that I have my master research. So the area is the one of the source of rice field in important rice field in Samarinda. When the transmigration established from the swamp, wild swamp, to become the productive rice field, they need maybe 25, more than 25 years that become productive agriculture area. But mining in 2005 is just need maybe 2 or 4 years, starting to digging and then flooding in that area. And this is in 2013, it's become like this. Is this situation a recent phenomenon? No. Its roots in the colonial era. East Kalimantan was a frontier for rubber plantation, coffee, oil, and coal mining and logging, and also a transmigration program. So the transmigration program during the Dutch, they call colonization. During the Suharto era, half of the logging exploitation involved cutting down East Kalimantan native forests, which became a source of wealth for conglomerates and tycoon in Jakarta, and later shaped the dynamic of local politics and economic development during the decentralization era to present day through election and also political party. Not only has the landscape been transformed, but colonialism and the capitalist system have also altered the relationship between human and natures. This includes the relationship between the Dayak indigenous people in Kalimantan. Next, please. So through this, let's move to the bank of the Murung River in central Kalimantan, where I lived for 3 months with the Dayak Murung people when I was doing my PhD. Their traditional territory has been claimed as mining area of PT Adaro, one of the Indonesian oligarch families. Initially, the Dayak not call themselves Dayak. This term originated with the Dutch to distinguish them from Banjar people who live on the coastal and were considered more educated. It's colonial stigmatized. Dayak means backward, uneducated, stupid. For the Murung people, custom is a daily practice that regulates their relationship between humans, human with nature, and also with their creator. They believe on multiple gods. They believe that humans were created on the river by collaboration between male and female gods. There is Hatta, the ruler of the sky, symbolized by the hornbill, and Jata, the ruler of underwater, symbolized by the dragon. The colonizer arrived, were introducing Christianity and rubber as commodity, Christianity as religion and rubber as commodity. The colonizer forced them to give their religious practices a name, and they mentioned as a kaharingan. Some were forced to convert to Christianity and cultivate rubber. This changed their social and ecological relation, including their relationship with rivers, rice, and gender relation. We can see this in their first or ladang. I will use term ladang to which is farm with the different kind of the plantation plants, usually for food, for staple, which are usually located along the river. So this is bukan patung. Apa tuh namanya kalau dari kayu ya? So you can see the pictures. This is the symbol of the combination between hornbill and dragon. Next, please. So ladang is the farm with multiple crops and rice as the main crops. Ladang is not only source food, but also cosmological space for the Dayak people. Women and men work together in the fields. During the land clearing, men cuts down large trees, women burn branches and small trees, men dig planting holes, women sow seeds, and they also care for the rice together until harvest. However, change in political and economic regimes have intensified pressure on the ladang, initially from religion, from colonial, the state, and corporation. Christianity stigmatized multi-species relation practices in the ladang as pagan and prohibited. The Murung people treat rice, initially the Murung people treat rice as a living entity. They have spirit. Their ladang are like garden. This is the first time for me to see the beautiful farm, the beautiful ladang with the colorful flowers, because the rice in their belief, rice planted must be in a good mood throughout the day to ensure happiness of them and bring a bountiful harvest. They believe that after planting, the rice spirit will traveling through the river, and if the spirit satisfied with the rituals, they will be happy, grow well, and back to the ladang produce a bountiful harvest. Kaharingan practices including funeral ceremonies, the largest ritual led by the basir, the feminine man, were shown. Kaharingan was also considered too complicated and expensive compared to Christianity practices. Pressure also come from the state, which during the Suharto bans the practice of traditional belief, kepercayaan. Because traditional belief foster a relationship with nature. Severing connection facilitated the state exploitation. Repression of religious adherents at the time led the Kaharingan elite to choose an official religion affiliation, the closest one being Hinduism. In 1980, Kaharingan officially became Hindu Kaharingan, the second largest Hindu population after Bali in Indonesia. So they finally had the holy book, a place of worship, and a special day for prayer, just like an official religion. They also get access for financial support from the government as others official religion. Farming or land, ladang has also recently come under pressure from a mining corporation before logging. After logging, sorry. This is because there are very few jobs available for women in mining. If the husband works in the mine, women cannot farm because they need, sharing work actually in ladang. They end up staying at home, becoming unpaid labor who ensure their husband and sons, the miners, can work healthy and happily every day. Their economy then depends on the mining economy, while forests and fields are shrinking and transformed into the areas of mining, coal mining expansion, even in the protected areas. And also the construction of roads makes settlement increasingly close to the river. Women bargaining power within the family and community decrease as their economy becomes dependent on men. The river is no longer their front yard, but their backyard. Next, please. If we follow trajectory from the side, it's look like this. How the dynamic of gender relation intertwine with the ethnicity, class, religion, and counter-colonialism, disciplines by religion and commodities that change over time according to market demand and global political dynamic. So in the past, we often see the baggage bring the logging, but now it's less and changing along the river become the mining area and also a place to put the coal before transporting outside or exporting. And from above, it looks like this. Next, please. So you can see here how the small village in the Lalang River encounter logging company time by time, since I don't have imagination before that my research will not just about mining, but also that's why I use the term of extractivism, the concept of extractivism, to see actually the characters of the exploitation, starting logging, and then when the logging industry collapsed because they cut more than their plants, and after that it's just transformed to digging the coal, which is also using the same road that used by logging company. No, it's used by coal companies. If you see in 2008, there is Akate company. If you follow the Indonesian news at the moment, how it's actually illegal mining, and it's huge illegal mining, Samintan, owned by Samintan. And in somewhere area is also oil palm, but not in the village that my research did. And we know that at the moment, around the conservation area, around this area, it's become also the source of carbon trading. Our president just chose his brother to become lead to collect the financial or financial support for the conservation area. So imagining that how the village time by time encounter with the trusting, many people come from Java, bring their culture and even the gender culture that also they learn from others that come to the area. Next, please. Through that, we understand that the dynamic that occur are due the assemblages of various factors, including commodities, changing of commodities, global commodities, political regime, religion, families, and actors. This dynamic not only shape integration with the politics, economics, and modern regime, but also give rise to resistance. Next, please. So from the bank of the Murung River, I invite us to see the bigger pictures. What Paul Kagelet calls as extractive regime, which the regime during Suharto combined the ongoing practices of development and predatory under the Suharto regime. So this regime using the different kind of natural resources exploitation, including oil and gas, fishery, oil palm, and mining to as a logistic. So the state extract the expense of the people. If you can see the colorful pictures here, is actually the changing of the commodity time by time, which shapes also the local political economy. And you can see how the decreasing of the forest size, the deforestation in Indonesia time by time, which is consist with the exploitation. Next, please. But later the extractive regime also changing. Gallet also called as alter extractive regime, which is more popular form. Borrow from the term of the neo-extractivism from Latin America, which is with the pink-tide governments during, for example, Morales, Evo Morales, and so on, which they're so popular, but still using the extractivism is the backbone of the economics. So they beginning they call progressive and pro people, that still active promoting extractivism. They're changing the regulatory reform like Indonesia, from the amendment of mineral regulation, and also what the name, the regulation, I forget the name. Financial subsidies to digital campaigns and military strengthening. This pro-people program, including, we know that BLT, direct cash assistance, home renovation, educational assistance, and more recently the MBG, and the red and white cooperative, Koperasi Merah Putih, Desa Merah Putih, and so on. Next, please. So if we complete the trajectory, we can see how the violence against women is intertwined with the violence against nature. So I will use during extractive regime, it's really important to connecting how the massacre, the assassination in 1965, when there is the assassination of left-wing movement, including the feminist movement Gerwani, which really progressive in the past. I think starting this 65 is really important. How then after 65, just 2 years after 65, in 1967, the government released the packet of the regulation, including mining regulation. Even we signed off the contract of work of Freeport before Indonesia has mining a bill. So the contract of work of Freeport become the what you call it, the base of all the contracts of mining during Suharto. And also the undang-undang penanaman modal asing, the foreign investment, and also local all national investment. And then in 1972, Suharto released what they call Panca Dharma Wanita. It's like women's 5 obligation that Julia Surya Kusuma called that state ibuism, which is disciplinize women as mother. And it's embedded in the family planning program since 1972. 2 years later, the husbands, it's become the heads of the family according Marriage Act 1970. So this combination, I believe, become the foundation to disciplinize women and become the, what you call it, the base source of the violation on women until now. That's why the femicide case, the killing because of gender, because of women, it increasing time by time. In 2023, the Human Rights Commission anti-violation of women's notes that 159 cases, which is increasing in 2024, become 270 cases, if I'm not wrong. So this book, The Dance That Make You Vanish, it's really important to understanding the context. Next,
Lagi belajar.
know that
Kita dengar. Apa jelaskan kamu apa yang dibilang omnya, tantenya ya?
Continue the extraction of the natural resource. Know if you see how Indonesia become the most extracted nickel mining and exporting of nickel mining in the east, for example, Maluku and so on. Next, please. So I mentioned earlier that the dynamics generated by the assemblage of the various factors not only give rise to integration to capitalist system, but also resistance. The form of this resistance varies from place to place. So now let's move to the smaller islands, Timor Island, in places like Molo, in South Central Timor district, it's Nusa Tenggara. In the east, there is a lot of islands, small islands. So these places were considered a dry place devoid of tropical forests like Kalimantan during so the colonial times, religion, and the state also influenced how indigenous communities live as well as gender rules. The Javanese-centric rulers also differed in their approach to the savanna geography in Molo, which they deemed infertile, critical, and required tree planting and fencing. This is kind of the monoculture that they think that help, unfertile soil. This is despite the fact that Molo indigenous people is a pastoral community which is near the savanna, whose livestock were released. So often in this area, you can see like horses in groups, a cow in groups, like, free. Enclosure operates through monoculture planting and fencing, which led to widespread loss of livestock territory and the loss of family savings. Soon, in 1996, marble mining concessions were also established. A state official viewed the stone mountain, the rock mountain, as a premium marble commodity. Next, please. Meanwhile, the Molo indigenous people, so you can see this is the mountain rocks, they already cut and exporting to Japanese. Meanwhile, the Molo indigenous people see the rock mountain it as their backbone. When the mountain cutting, if you see how they cut, it's like what you call it? It's really loud and also cracks, and it's triggering the erosion and pollution and kind of that, which damage the agriculture area and so on. Next, please. So meanwhile, the Molo indigenous people see rock mountain is their backbone. This philosophy gave rise to resistance in the late 19th century, around 1996 to 2005. They successfully halted marble mining at 4 locations. One of them even occupied the site by weaving. So hundreds of women occupied the mine site and wove the weaving for months until the mining stopped. So they setting a rule between men and women's, men at home and women's, bring all the domestic activity in the mining area during the blockade, but they also, the men is working in the ladang to collect money for the resistance. Next, please. So this struggle opened a space for women who had previously been denied a voice, to the opportunity to demonstrate their worthiness to lead their communities. This is the experience of indigenous women like Ibu Aleta Baun, who organized 22 villages to stop mining. And in 2013, she received an environmental award from the US-based Goldman Prize environmental award and she subsequently donated most of her funds to establish of women funds, the Mama Aleta Fund Foundation, the organization that I take lead at the moment, which support women in becoming leaders and protecting their living space. So you can see the pictures here. Faut is the rock, mountain rock, and you see how the the weaver is face to face with the Hansip, the local what you call it, security, or the mining security. Next, please. So Mama Aleta Fund works to make women's knowledge visible to promote gender justice and ecological justice. The women knowledge has recently been published in Indonesian. Our weapon is a traditional ceremony, which we are currently working on for English publication. So these pictures, the drawing pictures is the weaving dye, and the right side is they call trees name. So they have batu nama, air nama, and pohon nama. So they have rock names, water names, and also trees name, which is actually the commons. The commons, it means the source of the life, which is overlap. For example, my pohon nama, which is the honey trees, it possible in the kitten family, but is mine. So during the harvest, I can harvesting the honey trees and give some of it to kitten family, for example. So I would like to close this session with the Aleta Baun famous quote: "We will not sell what we cannot make." So I hope I will not closing with the conclusion, but I hope you get the pictures how the dynamic, but also when gender meet with intertwine with others' identities, encounter the changing time by time during colonial until existing political regime. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mbak Mai, for this wonderful presentation. I'm sure that we all learned a lot. I myself learned a lot from this presentation. All right, so I think we already have several questions on the chat, but if you all want to ask Mbak Mai directly, please feel free to raise your hand and you can ask the question directly. But before I jump to the participants' question, I want to ask, because you mentioned about the multi-species relations in your presentations, how it's changed from time to time due to the colonialism, capitalism, extractions, and etc. I wonder, from your experience with different communities, either it's indigenous communities or other communities in Indonesia, how the perception and how the lived experience of um, understanding other than human beings as persons. If I quote from Sophie Chow's book, how they see other than human beings as person, and how they personified them, as in your slides that you mentioned, like for like the soil is like a part of the body, and yeah, something like that. Halo Mbak Mai.
Hai Titin. Sorry. Tiba-tiba suaramu hilang.
Oh, oke 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 oke. Udah ada sekarang?
Ya.
Oke, sip. Yes. So my question is from your experience, for your experiences in doing research with indigenous communities or other or non-indigenous communities, how the changes in this multi-species relations in seeing other than human beings as persons, as something that are like visceral with the body, with the organs in like humans, or how they see it now. Because you also mentioned about the neo extractivism, right? How it's changed, and like, I wonder if there is a changing perception or changing understanding in seeing those non-human beings, either it's plants, animals, even the spirits.
Well, like I mentioned, there is a shrinking at the moment, yeah, because it's not just about so the colonial with the commodity and also religion is kind of like the foundation base to provide extractivism to expand to the area that already, that they're cutting the relation to nature in a way. There is some of people practicing kaharingan, but more is kind of like transformed to Christianity because they said it's easier, it's not expensive. There is different kind of ceremony in Kaharingan community, especially during, for example, in the different kind of the life phase, for example, during the when the baby born, for example. So the baby cannot bring outside the home before they introduce to the river. So it's so beautiful. So I follow the one of rituals how we have ceremony to bring a baby, introduce them to the river. So we walk together along the river of Murung, and there is a small boat, and one of the Balian, the elders, shower, take a bath, the baby, and then showering with the water from the river, and speak to the river. This is your son. Please, like protecting and kind of that. And then we back together to the homes of the baby, and everyone like hugging her, from one hand to another hand. It's like, we give love to to the baby, and we give the name together. So it's kind of like the elder provide the paper, and you can write the name of the proposed name of the baby. But this is the funny things, expressing how also modernity influenced the people life. So I also write the proposed name for the baby, because the baby is actually the daughter, the first daughter, was born in August. So the first name is Agustin. I forget. I forgot Agustiana maybe. And then the parents ask the audience to give the second name. Okay. So we write second name and then diundi. Apa tuh diundi? And so we get one name from the people, and guess what the name is? Aguilera, from Christina Aguilera. So the name is become Agustiana Aguilera. It's like must really surprise me, but you can see how the modernity meet with the even like Agustiana is not common Dayak name. Usually the name is like short one name. If you follow the name of their parents, usually it's just one word. So yeah, that's the way how the modernity also during in some rituals sometimes also they need coconut water. Some of them know like replace with the Coca-Cola, for example. Yeah, the what you call it, the instant drinks, kind of that. So the dynamic is also how the modernity changed, and plastic it's also become part of the ritual, for example, and kind of that. I think that is the challenge, yeah, for the indigenous people. Especially it's not just one way because it's like embedded with in the regulation. So they don't have what you call it option to say no, for example. Even at the moment, they ban some. I think in Central Kalimantan they ban what you call it tebas bakar. So like land clearing, burning, with burning, which is it's actually their ancestral knowledge actually, but because the forest fire increasing in Kalimantan, they accuse us and they ban that. So it's also you can imagining the regulation is not support them time by time, and in the same times also lifestyle, mining economy. There is the combination of the factors that make their relation with the nature and also ancestor become shrinking during they're not practicing anymore. Many people not practicing more and less ritual. I think in 2013, it's still like Kaharingan people practicing, but it's not many people in the village become Kaharingan. But I'm not saying it's like white and black, yeah. Usually they mix, so they even they Christiani, but they still practicing Kaharingan with their neighbor, for example, kind of that. But what I said, time by time, the regulation, the changing ecology, and the lifestyle, it's more difficult for them to practicing the way how the ancestor teach them in the past. Is it answer your question?
Yes. Yeah, especially when you mentioned how, like, due to the modernity aspect, how they, for example, Kaharingan peoples interact with other peoples outside the Kaharingan, and the they include even plastics in the rituals. I mean, like, plastics is also considered as non-human beings in the multi-species conversation. So yeah, it's very interesting to explore more about that. But yeah. Thank
Yeah,
you.
I mean, it's important to think that indigenous people is like us. They're facing, they challenge, challenging time in the context of modernity and so on. Yeah. So I think this is important to things actually. Maybe in the title of the discussion we bring the local community, but there is a different kind of, usually people call local community like transmigration and kind of that, but there is certain groups identity called indigenous people, which they have structure and kind of that really connecting with the resource that they live. They really have a big what you call it pressure at the moment. You know that in 2013 there is actually legal case that they won in the constitutional court, which is state that what you call it, the customary forest is not state forest. It's actually demand how the state, recognizing and protecting the indigenous customary area of indigenous people. But until now, maybe less 1 million from the prediction about 40 million hectares of the customary forest or indigenous people forest compare with the concession that provide for the private sector, for example. And we know during the Prabowo, there is increasing 66% of the deforestation at the moment.
Thank you so much, Mbak Mai. So I think we have a lot of questions in the chat box. I will read it one by one. So it's from Ruli Restiana. I would like to express my deepest and most heartfelt condolences to the families who have lost their children to these neglected coal pits. No parent should ever have to bury a child because of corporate negligence. It is devastating to witness what can only be described as a systemic ecocide, where the environment is scared and lives are claimed by a persistent failure to enforce reclamation laws. While the regulatory framework for post-mining restoration exists on paper, the reality on the ground suggests a staggering lapse in legal enforcement and accountability. As these lateral lakes remain open and unguarded near residential areas, we must demand more than just administrative sanctions. There must be rigorous legal consequence for companies that prioritize profit over human life and ecological integrity to ensure that development does not continue to come at such a tragic and preventable cost. Thank you, Ruli Restiana, for this comment. Yeah, I personally agree with this. And maybe Mbak Mai want to comment first before I read the question.
I agree with you. I think we talk about beyond administration things, yeah. For example, if someone died even before someone died in the abandoned coal pit, they have responsibility to do a clean up and reclamation, but it doesn't work. If you come to Samarinda, it's easier for you to see in the right or left of the big road some of the abandoned coal pit. Honestly, that's make me as activists. I feel that okay, I don't understand what happened is actually. It's outside my logic actually. 70% of Samarinda, the capital city, become the mining concession. lot of abandoned coal mine. Even in the regulation state, it should be reclamation on that, or even they cannot, digging at least 500 meters from the river, for example. But even they change the river, become mining areas. Even in the backyard of the home, there is also coal pits. So that's bring me to have my PhD, actually, to kind of like try to understand what is it. So that's come with all my explanation. I think we talk about when we talk about the extractive regime in the local. So the mining concession, most of them come. The concession it's come during the decentralization. Yeah. So I think it's around maybe 56 mining concession in Samarinda. And the owner of the concession, some of it is politician, and the concession is increasing usually before election, before local election or national election or after election. So it's not about how the law enforcement, it's about also the dirty politics behind the mining concession mixed with the actors and so on, which is it's a safe during the Suharto regime, which is how is established the local oligarch through logging industry, then transform during the centralization to the politics, to the for example, building mall and others concession. So it's kind of like develop the infrastructure of the politics and economy in East Kalimantan, actually. Why? And it's cannot control because the mining concession, it's the size of the mining or the permission of mining is huge, and they just have the inspector. Maybe in East Kalimantan just 5 inspector. Mining inspector is the person who watch monitoring and kind of that. Compare with the one time in East Kalimantan, they have 2,500 concession mining company. So it's unmanageable, actually. Semoga, I hope it's that's why if you follow the the story of the government of East Kalimantan, for example, they provide 25 billions for supporting the renovation of governors, for example, something that, what is it? Things like that.
Thank you, Mbak Mai. I will move to the next question. It's from Lala B. Sudimantara. Thank you for sharing your insight, Mbak Mai. You stated that when we damage nature's body, we damage our body. How does this ecofeminist ontology inform strategies for addressing power imbalances within local communities, not only between communities and external actors, particularly regarding gender roles in environmental stewardship?
Yang mana ini ya pertanyaannya?
Yang dari Lala
Oh.
Sedimentara.
Okay, yeah, within local communities, not only within communities and external particular. How does this economic inform strategies for addressing environment within local? Well, I think is it okay? I also answer the questions in once for the ad, right? Is it ecofeminism also? Could you read also, Kitin? Question from Ed?
Is it from Lala?
Yeah, Lala, but I think it's also have connection with the question from Ed. Would environmental movement be more effective
Oh,
if
yeah.
Mm.
So it's a question from Ed. Would environmental movements be more effective if guided by an ecofeminist perspective, reflecting on the struggles of the women at the farm that you used as a case study? How can ecofeminism provide a critical framework for addressing ecocide and the enforcement of environmental laws? Thank you.
Okay. Yeah, I think ecofeminist lens help us to understand how the exploitation of nature, it means also exploitation of women body. It's not just women, but also the community itself. I already explained about Ibu Rahma with flooding. Ibu Rahma right as the citizen to ask about the postmortem of her son, for example, which is not allowed by the police. The difficulties of women to get water because they were dry. It's dried because surrounding by mining area. How they rice field hit by the flooding because and the mud from the the waste pond of the coal mine. So we can see here how the ecofeminists would like to express how the patriarchal hand in hand with the capitalist system. It's actually placing the farmer women's the family at risk under advantage of on the advantage of the rich, yeah, the oligarch, because when we talk about, and it's also help to understanding it's not just the local context. The ecofeminist perspective will bring understand who get more advantage, who get access, who get more control. So through that, it will provide the critical thinkings on how the power relation operate, how the power relation intertwines. It not just the class, but also ethnicity, gender, and so on. But I think it's also provide, like I mentioned, about the resistance, the agency of women. So I think when we use the ecofeminist as a critical lens, it will help us to follow how the power relation operates and intertwines the complexity of it. And I think it's also will bring us with the others issue, not just mining itself of gender, but also a climate crisis, for example, in a way. So I think I hope it will help the answer the question actually. I'm not sure. You can ask more actually about that. Right.
For Lala and Ed, if you have follow-up questions, feel free to raise your hand and ask Mai directly.
But
Alright.
unfortunately, ecofeminism is not yet used, for the law enforcement. Yeah. I mean, even ecocide is something that we need to, provide more space to talk about that. So it's become, we should talk about that. So ecocide, ecofeminist things. Then, for example, talking more on the lifestyle artists or whatever. So I think we need to provide more space to discuss about this.
Yes, thank you, Mbak Mai. I think there was Ferditi raised your hands. Maybe you wanna ask Mbak Mai directly? Okay.
I think there is Kitin, before that there is a question on the from Stephanie Made Ayu Artarini.
Yeah, and I think before that, there was a question by Ruli. So thank you for the comprehensive explanation, and I'd also like to express my sincere appreciation to our speaker Kak Mai for sharing such a compelling perspective on this issue. The question is, how exactly does the domestic workload of women shift as a result of this ecocide? When water is contaminated or land is destroyed, women often carry a heavier burden in securing new means of survival for their families. That's the first question. And then the second one, how does the law account for these invisible losses? Furthermore, this is the third question, why are the voices of grieving mothers so often suppressed in legal settlements? Is our legal system too rigid and technocratic, failing to capture the emotional weight and trauma suffered by mothers who have lost their children?
Yeah. First, I think the operation of extractivism, whatever project it is, for example, like opening forests for oil palms, largely, mining, even the tourist area, if they need more space, more water, it will give impact to women especially, and more burden of work. Without the operation of nature exploitation, there's already burden to women on the, domestic work, care work, and so on. But then there is one of the quotes that from the women around nickel mine in the north in Halmahera Island, which said that usually we washing the dishes after we eat, but now I need to wash the dishes before we eat. So 2 times, yeah, because the dust from the coal power plants surrounding their home, and they need to cleaning the floor many times because the dust also, and they need in the area of coal mining they need to walk far away to get water, or they need to buy. If they need to buy water, then a woman needs spend more money to buy water, and need to, what you call it, strategizing how to, for example, affect the what you call it, money for buying a food, and so on. So yes, the workload of women is so huge, even without, the extractive projects around them. For example, in the fishery communities, women works 14 to 20 hours during the peak of the certain fish harvest, for example. So that's the explanation of the first question. And yes, it's not just the law, even it's not recognized. It's not recognized as a problem or as unjust. So because it's not recognized, so it will not put on the law or regulation. Because they just regulate, for example, contamination. They think the contamination is not have relation with the burden work of women. So I think the regulation is not what you call it, provide proper justice in regulation itself, yeah. Even it's not responding the reality of the women in everyday life. That's why I really to need to think the everyday politics, to think about how to provide different thinkings to the critical thinkings on the regulation and so on. Yeah, I think it's really gender, right? Emotion is really put on, as women, you are too emotional, kind of that. So emotion is something that even not recognized, but emotion is it's even in the topic of research. I think during my PhD, I it's opening my mind that emotional is the root of resistance, actually. So we need to talk about emotion. We need to talk about grief as kind of appreciation, and provide the space how to handle that collectively, for example. So a lot of things that we need to discuss, to challenge, the dominant narrative, the regulation, and so on. Emotion, we need to discuss more emotional in the reality, not something that we keep, not something that even in gender is like accused. Emotion is not good, women is too emotional, kind of that. So, but I think we need to put emotion in the progressive way as a roots, or as what you call it, triggering to something progressive, resistant, for example. That's my, I hope it's what you call it, answer your question. Titing, do you think is answer the question? And
Yes.
what next the question? Sorry,
So the question is,
from Ferdi, right?
it's I think it's answered by I think the last two questions are answered already, because the question is, why are the voices of grieving mothers so often
Yeah, yeah.
suppressed in legal settlements? Is our legal system too rigid and technocratic, failing to capture the emotional weight?
I would like to answer the question from Palangkaraya. Yeah, there is a question about Stephanie Made Ayu. Yeah, I agree that more equality, but I discuss actually how the different kind of factors encountered by Dayak community, including coloniality, religion. It's not just Christianity but also Islam. culture, extractivism project, which is bring, different kind of culture, what you call it, extractive economy that affects, the relation between men and women. That's my story about what you call it, how the wives cannot farming because the farming in the ladang it needs work together, sharing a role between men and women. But when the husband work in mining and the women cannot do ladang itself, if they need to pay someone, it's not economics anymore. But it's not just about farming, but also hunting to provide protein for the family, for example. So, yes, in the past it's more equal, but time to time, because the dynamic, the different kind of factor that I mentioned, that is also changing and make the work of domestic and care work is more responsible on women, especially maybe in the city, which is more, what you call it, heterogeneous. Yeah? It's not just Dayak people. That's my answer. I think the last question is in Indonesian about
I think it's from Ferdi.
yeah, I'm not really reading the regulation number 55 2005 about the but what I would like to explain this regulation is actually the initiative to post the indigenous people recognition regulation. It's actually have the important roots because the historical context of operation of indigenous people by the state, by the corporation, even others ethnics. Yeah. So that's the idea. Of course, it's not like going well in the context of I think more than half of the parliament member are connecting with the business, which is have interest to mining, oil palm, and so on. Where the most their concession is in indigenous people area at the moment. So there is like what you call it, the contestation on that kind of that. Even some of the parliament member also claim they are from indigenous people, certain indigenous people, for example, right? But the fact is the regulation is not really help. Existing regulation, even the new one, is not help to accelerating the recognition of the indigenous people territory. Because there is, they won in the what you call it, the constitutional court, but the execution through the next, the lower, the more implication of the regulation is not support the indigenous people itself. For example, they need recognized by local government first, and then they can continue the process. Yeah. So I think that's the first, but the second also the interest of the government that thinks the recognition of indigenous people will give difficulties for investment, for example. So that's why the change of regulation, sometimes more regulation is not help the indigenous people protection, but more give them difficulties. And that's why the acceleration of the recognition of indigenous people territory is not working well. Is really slow time by time, especially under the Prabowo government. I think it's expressed also for through increasing the deforestation at the moment.
Thank you, Mbak Mai, for the answer. And we still have one question on the chat box. It's from Susie. How do we, as an overseas individual, keep informed about the situation in Kalimantan, and how can we help? Are there social media accounts that we can follow to stay informed?
I think what important thing is so I propose the way how we see or understanding the context around us as the relation of the body and territory, body and living spaces. So when I tell the story, it's not just about the story of the frontier when landscape changing time by time by the capitalist system. But our body is also territory, right? Territory that changed by the economic system as consumers. We need to buy, how the system through the advertisement and so on. It's make us to buy everything, and which actually our life actually even during our discussion, the electricity that, for example, at least what I use here in Indonesia, 60% is come from extraction of coal mining. So actually, wherever you are, we have connection with the extractive territory. So I think we have the responsible body, not just about your energy that we consume, but others, for example, even the cosmetic, the whatever you consume, oil for frying and kind of that is also maybe come from the indigenous people territory, yeah, or and the local community. So I think it's really important to have more space on this, but also how to have to put our body as the arena of resistance, to keep try to inform to have to get information well, and also exercising to part of resistance in a way, depend on what can we do, and it need exercise. What exercise mean is we can, for example, starting with thinking about how to reduce the consumption. I mean, it's not just rhetoric, yeah, for example, but really put in the meaning how to do collective things, how to, support the community that have resistance in part of Indonesia and kind of that, and support of the campaign on the protection of indigenous people, for example. So this thinking is really important, because if we feel that we are have the separate body in a way, then we think that, oh yeah, they are there and we are here, but actually we are surrounding the whatever resource that we consume is actually really have connection with women in the area of extractives. So through that, we need to think how to have exercise, how to do the everyday politics in you know, everyday our option or decision in everyday life.
Thank you, Mbak Mai.
Well, you can visit the Mama Aleta Foundation. Wait.
So there is a response from Susie. Yes, I avoid as much as possible products that contain palm oil. So I'm not supporting businesses that are destroying the environment, such as Indonesia. Vote with your dollars. Well, so actually still have one question for Mbak Mai. So if anyone want to raise your hands or even ask another questions or comments, feel free to do so. But my question regarding this topic is because today we're talking about the gender dynamics, which when we talk about gender, it's not only about like women and men, but it's about the power relation with the human and other humans and other than human beings, even other than human beings, and with other than non-human beings. So my question would be like, how actually this capitalistic system influence the way people live their, not maybe not tradition, but their, for example, you said about the indigenous way of life, how they protect the environment, how they try to survive day by day. But during this capitalistic system, how they try to maintain it or even change it, because even in indigenous peoples are like us who are non-indigenous, they also migrate to other countries, or maybe other places. Even in some areas in Indonesia, they also work in the mining sectors, because the mining sectors dominate the work sectors there. So how do you see this change in the communities? Um how the resistance can be done with, like, can be done by us and also by the people there.
I think I have something to wait. Just the example. For example, I have sebentar ya, Ting. Aku punya. So this is just a practical example. To get 1 grams of gold, we need to dumping 2.1 tons of waste. Before become an environmental activist, I don't know about it. I thought what you call it, the gold is the symbolic of welfare, prestige, and so on. So it's become powerful when and surprise when I understand about how the gold creates. That the first. The second, to create the 1 centimeter of soils, it's need 300 to 1,000 years. Working together, the climate, the microbia, the minerals, and so on, and time by times, and it's become, the fertile soil. So the way how we extract is so fast, then the nature itself restore. In that context, I think it's important. It's not just about comparison, but imagining if there is people there, the people that depend on, the source of life, water, and so on. It's not like imagining people live in the city that can buy something, or you can use the Gojek or Grab, and then you can order the food and so on. It's a different kind of life, but the government, the mainstream economic is teach us the city is kind of like the parameter of good life, right? I think all of us teach and kind of like bring the imagination that even our parents, if there is less farmer at the moment, farmer youth, and also fisher folk. Why? Because the school is not provide the knowledge that support them life as a farmer. There is school that make you leave the village, then you back to village. I think all of us, the student, the scholar, I'm not sure if most of us would like to back to the village and build the village. So this kind of education, lifestyle, technology, it's easier to provide kind of like imagination of good life, the city, that actually it's like beyond our imagination in the context of when you live in the city, in the apartment, you need more electricity, more water, and actually rice is provided by the village. But what we discuss is actually in the television and kind of that, the imagination of different life. Indonesian, for example, have imagination that I think in 2030 or 2000, I forget, they need to make all, most of Indonesian become the city. So how about the village that can provide food and kind of that? So that imagining how the ecosite is actually also part how the born is part of the how the established of city around Indonesia. So I would like to bring what Kitin question in the context how the we are inside the situation that make us to need to keep critical thinking, but in the same times, I would like to invite us to use our body as the first arena to think, to collaborate, and also to have solidarity and empathy. So through that, we maybe it give us a different kind of thinking to imagining, to deconstruct or reconstructing Indonesian actually in a way. Because when we discuss deconstruction, how we think reconstruction, right? And in that situation, when we bring the context of indigenous people situation, they have a big challenge in the context of because in our education, in our mainstream economy, what we call progress and welfare is led by the economics merely. But for them, it's intertwined with the ecology, with the social, and so on. So I think it's important to think the alternative on the capitalist economic system. For example, people talk about the growth in the Europe, for example, yeah, the movement. But also people think about the economy solidarity, for example. So we need to talk about more alternative, but also maybe dive digging deep on the ancestor knowledge, for example, that most of them maybe is not talk about that or even not recognized in the academic space, because they think that the indigenous people knowledge is not important than academic knowledge, for example. So we need to change this kind of of the situation. And the university, I think, is important arena to decolonizing the knowledge. So through that, I would like to start to using our body, starting with our body as arena to maybe if you not call resistance, to respond the situation, I think. I hope it's answering your question, Kitin.
Thank you
Sorry.
so much, Mbak Mai. It's it's not only answering my question, but it's also a reflective answer for me myself. And I hope for you too, Mbak Mai, and for the other participants as well. So, are there any questions that you want to ask? All right. So I think that's all the questions that we have for you, Mbak Mai. Thank you so much for today. Thank you so much for so much insights and discussions. I hope not only us that learn from you, but also you learn from us. We learn together in this space. As you said that we need to like maybe deconstruct our thinking of how we perceive and think about our body as the space of learning, space of resistance, because I believe that learning together is also part of the resistance. Thank you so much, Mbak Mai, for today.
Sama-sama, teman-teman. Thank you, everyone.
All right, so this recording will be uploaded on YouTube maybe in a week or 2 weeks. Sorry for the delayed. And all right, see you guys in our next sessions, and stay tuned in our WhatsApp group. Thank you so much, Mbak Mai. Bye, everyone.